Welcome to this month's presentation. Don't miss out on any of our club updates or exciting content. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. By joining our online communities, you'll stay informed about upcoming events, technical tips, and club news. Check out our website for more details. Subscribe and follow today so you never miss a moment of our growing amateur radio adventures. Now, back to our program.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to TechNet number 31, talking about CRA participation in ARRL Field Day 2026. So I want to go over a few things tonight about Field Day in general and about CRC's participation in Field Day. There's a couple of pictures of us from Field Day staff, everybody looking happy and all that before the mosquitoes got to us, I believe. So the first thing is, what is Field Day? I know you've heard about it, but Field Day is an annual amateur radio exercise that is sponsored by the ARRL, and it encourages emergency communication preparedness among amateur radio operators. It first started in 1933, and it's been the single largest emergency preparedness exercise in the country. It's a very coordinated thing. To determine the effectiveness of the exercise and of each participant's operation, there is an integrated competitive component. So they say Field Day is not a contest, it's an operating event, but it kind of is a little bit. That way we can determine everybody's effectiveness. The competitive component involves contacting as many other stations as possible while learning to operate radio gear in abnormal situations and less than optimal conditions, like you would experience during any type of emergency situation where amateur radio would need to be deployed as the main means of communication. So when and where is Field Day? Well, it's always the fourth full weekend in June, beginning at 1800 UTC and running to 2059 UTC on Sunday. Setup for CRHRC's Field Day is going to be at 8 a.m. that Saturday, June 27th. And we'll be starting operations at 1 p.m. local time. So June 27th and June 28th. If you don't have it on your calendar already, it's a good time to put it on there. We'll be out at the mill again, where we've been for a couple years and where we had last year's Hamfest. And the address for the mill there is 65 South Street in Louise, Texas, 745. And for those of you with the GPS, if you want to punch in those coordinates, that'll get you really close. There's another shot there of our advertised CRHRC participation in the Field Day. So some of the amenities that we'll have there at the site for Field Day are going to be RV parking. There's no hookup. As long as you're self-contained, you got tanks and your own water system and generator if you want power or batteries, however you do. We welcome and encourage those. We've had several people come out in years past with RVs, and they really enjoyed that. We've got a lot of areas, so there's plenty of room. No RV is too big. We've got the entire property with the Chamber of Commerce here in Louise. So that includes inside a kitchen area, food staging area. We've got some tree cover. There's a covered pavilion for radio setups. It's pretty accessible to the public. And there's AC restrooms, which is a big bonus in June. So here's an aerial view of the site where we'll be. The green star area is the self-contained camper area that I just mentioned. On the right-hand side there, on the east of Victoria Street, is the main venue building where the red is. That's going to be where most of the radio stuff's going to be set up in that pavilion, and that's where all of the outdoor festivities are going to be held. While there was no major rule changes between 2025 and 2026 Field Day from the ARRL, I do want to just go over a couple of the basic Field Day rules that always seem to stay the same. You can find the full list of the rules at this URL here listed at the bottom, arrl.org, but these are just a few I would like to go over. A person may not contact for QSO credit any station from which they also participate. So mean if you go home and you were operating at CRHRC's Field Day, you were operating W5LCR, and then you go home, you can talk to W5LCR, just don't log W5LCR in your log when you submit your results for Field Day. Field Day contacts are allowed using phone, CW, and digital modes. Stations can be worked once per band per mode under this rule. So you can work, say, W1AW on CW, phone, and digital modes on each band, and those are valid contacts, but no dupes, no twice on 20 meter CW kind of stuff, which our login software will prevent that, and we'll go into that in a little bit. The use of more than one transmitter at the same time on a single band mode is prohibited. We can have 2 or 3 stations on a single band, but as long as they're on different modes. So we can have one station on 20 meter CW and 20 meter phone at the same time, but we can't have 2 stations on 20 meter phone simultaneously. That's the prohibition there. And no logged repeater contacts are allowed to be logged there for field day limit let drop. So getting into the rating the competitive component and rating effectiveness of operations there, the ARRL has split the operations up into classes, and you'll hear classes. So these are all the different classes, class A, B, C, D, E, and F, that you'll hear during field day, during the exchanges, and those are exactly what they are. Class A is a club or a non-club group of 3 or more people set up specifically for field day, like we will be. We'll be a club of more than 3 people set up specifically for field day, and so we'll be running the Class A designation. Class B is 1 or 2 people portable and QRP 5 watts or less, and not on commercial power, no motor-driven generator. So typically you think of QRP, low power, and battery as Class B with 1 or 2 people. Class C is mobile stations, any mobile station in a vehicle capable of operating in motion. Could be nautical, aeronautical, or people-powered. We did have some contacts with a bicycle mobile Class C field day station in the past. I thought that was pretty cool. Class D are home stations, people operating from a permanent or licensed station location on commercial power. So just sitting in your ham shack, that's the Class D designation. Class E is a home station, but on emergency power. So if you've got a standby generator or whole home generator where you're disconnected from grid power, you would be operating a Class E station. And Class F is probably the least common, but that's emergency operations centers like county EOCs or other entities, EOCs. If you're able to operate your field day from there, then you can run as a Class F. So one of my favorite parts of field day is the go-to station. And the go-to station, that stands for Get on the Air. And that station is set up and specifically allows for members of the general public, newly and generally inactive hams, a place to get on the air. So we have coaches that are available, go-to coaches, that are happy to help get on the air for first-timers or figure out the radio or whatever. The go-to station, and anybody operating the go-to station can operate on any field day band or mode that they would like to. The go-to station must use a different call sign from the club station, but the exchange will still be the same. So you'll still use 2 Alpha South Texas as your exchange on the go-to station. And the go-to station also offers a chance to showcase easy deployment of operating equipment, whether it be jack-in-the-box type stuff or extremely easy to set up antenna for field operations. That's what we'd like to kind of showcase for the go-to stuff. But we've got a secret weapon on the go-to station lined up for this year. So getting into secret weapons and antennas for field day this year, that's what we'll talk about now. So we're going to run a 2A station. We'll have 2 stations set up. We'll be using the club emergency operating equipment. The antennas we're using are going to be a little different this year. We're going to use alpha delta dipoles, multi-band dipoles, and the way that we're going to have them configured, which we'll go over here in a couple of slides, is designed to minimize interstation interference. And with this setup, we'll be able to operate both stations simultaneously on the same band. So previous, we were always fighting interference on field day, and that was mainly due to antenna propagation patterns. And we're going to be able to mitigate that by doing this year with these antennas. So we'll be real thrilled to try this out and get the theory working there. But we'll be able to have 2 stations on 20 meters at the same time, one on CW and one on phone, and we won't hear each other. It'll be cool. And the GOTA station is going to use our famous red, white, and blue Wilson SY33 tri-band beam on the crank-up tower, adorned with our American flag, and I believe we'll have some other flags on there as well, like we usually do. And that antenna will operate on 10, 15, and 20 meters. So the GOTA station is going to get to have fun with the beam this year, our patriotic beam celebrating America 250.
I want to take a short break to remind you of the great items available at the CRHRC merchandise store. Show your club pride by purchasing club-branded merchandise. Go to www.crhrc.org/merch. There is also a link in the description below.
And this is W5CUY Chris and Louise with TechNet 31. Talking about CRHRC's Field Day 2026. So we mentioned about the radio, and we're going to use the CRHRC operating equipment again like we did last year. The ICOM 7300s with the tuners, and they also have ICOM dual band mobiles in them as well with external speakers, and they were really great. One addition that we're going to have this year to the operating positions is fancy, freshly donated to CRHRC logging computers, donated by Mr. Tree, W5TRI. So we really appreciate you, Tree, for your donation to Field Day and CRHRC. And we're looking forward to utilizing those laptops and setting them up with the login stations there on the Go boxes. All right, here's a little bit more of a zoomed in of the playground, if you will, where the number 1 there is up by the flag, and the number 2 up to the right of that. That's where we're going to set up our dipole antennas. They're going to be along the same axis, positioned in the same orientation, in essence end to end from one another, which will keep the other antenna in the null, so to speak. So that's how we're going to avoid hearing each other there when we're operating on the same band. Let's see, number 3, the pavilion. That's our operations area. So that's where our station 1, the Go box, is going to be set up. The POTA station is the POTA station. Sorry about that, Darren. The GOTA station is going to be set up there in the pavilion. We're going to have a public information table there as well. We'll be able to greet members of the public and guests and all that good stuff there in the pavilion. Number 4, inside, that's where the food, restroom, hangout area is going to be. There's going to be plenty of room to stretch around. Right behind that, to the south of number 4, there's a different colored roof there. That's our patio area out there in the back. It's a nice breezeway. There's picnic tables set up. There's some lights back there for late night DX story swapping, and it's a great place to hang out there. And number 5, we won't have the beam quite that far out in that field, but we're going to have the tower and beam set up there on site as well. So you heard me talk about exchange a little bit, and some of the information that we'll exchange to 2A South Texas, and this is what that means with those not familiar with Field Day. Our contacts will exchange information about our setups. We're going to exchange class information and section information. So the class will include the number of transmitters in our class, like a 2 alpha. We're at alpha station, and class A alpha 2. That's where the 2 alpha comes from, 2 transmitters in a Class A designation. And our section is South Texas. So the ARRL has the map broke up in sections, and we happen to be in South Texas, STX, Sierra Tango X-Ray. So that'll be our exchange. That's what it looks like, 2 alpha, South Texas. And speaking of sections, here we go. There's the ARRL sections map. You can see most states are a section. And there's some states like Texas and California and New York that are, and Florida, that are split up into multiple different sections. So just because you hear 6, you got to pay attention to the section there too. But we will have these printed out at the operating stations, and a list of the sections as well as the map to kind of help you familiarize yourself with where these sections are on the map. And speaking of phonetics, like I did there a minute ago, one thing that you want to try to do is use standard phonetics. It's really what both sides expect to hear. So you expect to hear echo for E, November for N, X-ray for X, and it makes things a lot smoother and easier. If you use some of the less standard phonetics that are listed below there, you may have a little bit harder of a time. While yes, earwax is E and idiot is I, that's not what somebody on the other end is going to expect to hear. So if you use made-up or non-standard phonetics there, be prepared to repeat multiple times and to help get that across there. But try to stick to the standard phonetics. Like I said, it's what both sides expect to hear. So there's two main ways to operate Field Day. You can either run in a run configuration, which is you tune around and you find a clear frequency and you park the VFO there and you start calling CQ Field Day, and you wait for people to respond back to your CQ, and then you make your exchange and continue to call CQ after you log the contact. The next way to do it is to be the other guy on the other end of that queue, so where you're spinning the VFO listening for somebody calling CQ Field Day, and then you tune them in, and when they break, then you answer their CQ and try to make the contact with them. We've done a combination of both. It's really operator preference, whoever's sitting down at the radio operating, and you can run it however you want to. It's Field Day, but those are the two ways that you'll find. And it's the same in all modes. CW and digital modes are the same as well. They sound different, but it's the same thing. So here's an example of a Field Day QSO in run configuration, what's referred to as run configuration. You're running the frequency. You would be the one in red, the operator. You would call CQ Field Day Whiskey 5 Lima Charlie Romeo, and then the other station responding to your CQ would answer you with their call sign, W1AW, and then you respond back to them, W1AW, please copy 2 Alpha South Texas, and they tell you, QSL, please copy 3 Delta Connecticut, or Charlie Tango, and you say thanks 73. QRZ, this is W5LCR, and you get your next QSO on the line and ready to log. And as you would imagine, the search and pounce configuration sounds the opposite, flip side of that. You're tuning your VFO around and you hear CQ Field Day, and you've got them tuned in, and they say this is Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey. And you answer that with your call sign, Whiskey 5 Lima Charlie Romeo. And they answer you W5LCR, please copy 3 Delta Charlie Tango. QSL, please copy 2 Alpha South Texas. Easy peasy. And you spin the VFO and look for another one. And once again, this is W5CUY, Whiskey 5 Charlie Uniform Yankee in Louise with CRHRC's TechNet 31, talking about ARRL Field Day 20. So scoring with our non-competitive Field Day here, everything gets points. So phone points are 1 point apiece, or phone contacts are 1 point apiece rather, and CW and digital contacts are 2 points apiece. And there are different multipliers for power and different things, battery and solar. There's a laundry list of different multipliers and stuff available during Field Day. I can give you some tips to have some success for Field Day. The first one is like 3 listens. My wife tells me that all the time too. I should listen 3 times as much as I talk, and it's applicable in ham radio too. It's made me a really good operator. But if you want to get the call sign in the exchange before you answer their CQ, you'll hear them and you can listen to them for a couple of cycles. That way you can make sure you know who you're listening to. You don't want to accidentally be listening to the other guy and log his exchange when he's not the one that you're going to get in the logbook there. So always pay attention and try to get the exchange and the call sign of the station calling CQ before you answer their CQ. Another reason is somebody may come in right on top of them or right next to them and completely wipe them out, and you can't hear them anymore, or the band drops out and they're not there anymore. But if you already know what they're going to tell you, then it's as good as gold there. If you can make it through the noise instead of struggling to get all the information you need through the noise. So if you can't get through the pile up and you're trying and you really want to get this guy, just tune the VFO up just a little bit. It works on CW and on phone. Not so much on digital because that doesn't count, but can't trick the computer. But just tune up a little bit. It changes the pitch on the other end of what they're hearing, and that may be all it takes sometimes just to get through whatever they've got going on over there. So you can tune down a little bit too, but I've had more success tuning up just a hair. And listen for their cadence when you're doing the listen thing. Try to get their cadence down. A lot of them will either take the first call sign they hear, the first part of the first call sign, or the last part of the last call sign, or they're waiting for somebody to just hang out there after the pileup dies. So listen for the cadence of the operator on the other end, see how they're doing it there, and see if you can get in that way. And coattails, sometimes you can make it in there when you've got just a little bit of a break. When they log one QSO before they call CQ on the next one, if you throw your call sign out there, a lot of the times they'll pick you up because everybody's waiting for them to call CQ before they throw their call sign out. So sometimes just throw it out there when there's a little bit of a break in between QSOs, and you may get in that way too. On CW, try to match the speed of whoever's calling CQ. If they're running 10 words a minute, 15 words a minute, and they're calling CQ, and you come in there at 35 words a minute, chances are you're not going to make it. They're not going to be expecting to hear something that fast, or maybe they can't copy that fast. So on CW, try to match the speed of whoever's on the other end there. Bonus points. I know we talked about some power multipliers, but here's a long list of bonus points available for field day operations as well to entries for field day. So you get a bonus for 100% emergency power, media, Facebook, newspaper articles, being in a public location, having the public information table, educational activity bonus. We've done all of these in different combinations in years past, except for, no, I think we have done all of those. Safety officer, myself, and Rick, WB8FBB, are going to be the safety officers this year. So that's, actually we'll go over that in the next slide a little bit more. But we're also going to be doing some NTS message passing in hand, and that's something that we're really looking forward to again this year at field day. That's a pretty cool thing, being able to handle actual radio messages during field day. That gets you some good bonus points too, but it's kind of like the spirit of field day and what we would be doing in an emergency situation as well. So some of the things that the safety officers are in charge of doing, which kind of everybody, if you see something that's not right, say something, but the safety officers are be looking and making sure that the generator fuel is properly stored and fire extinguishers are on hand, and the temporary antennas are not set up to where they're going to fall and hit somebody or pose some kind of tripping hazard. So you'll see rope and flagging and different things like that. Please be respectful of that because it's there for your safety, and just pay attention best you can. Also, if there's just other stuff that's out and kind of needs to be tidied up or something, you can let Rick know. He'll be more than happy to tidy those things up. Also, as well, the safety officer is a designated point of contact for public safety officials. So if late night operations get too hectic and the cops have to show up and bust up the fun, send them Rick's way. He loves to talk to the police when they show up to field day. I hope he's not listening, by the way. I haven't told him that he's going to be a safety officer with me this year. Anyway, logging equipment, we kind of talked about that a little bit with the laptops. Thank you again, W5TRI. But we're going to be running N1MM logger again this year, as in previous years. It is ham budget friendly. It is for the very low price of free, and it works great. It's got preset macros. It's easy to network with N1MM on the logging stations, which we've showcased before with the N1MM dashboard, which we'll be using again this year as well. So this will give a visual representation to spectators on site of what's going on at field day. You'll see how many QSOs we've made, how many points we have, how many new multipliers, which operator is on which radio, and what mode they're on, what band, and if they're running run configuration or search and pass, and what their QSO count is, or averages are too. There's also a leaderboard built in, so we have a non-competitive component built into a non-competitive operating event as well. With the N1MM dashboard, there's the operator ranking, which is pretty cool. That's been a motivator in years past to, hey, I need to get up and beat that guy. He's got 2 more than me right now, so I need to get over there and get on the radio. So that's just something cool to watch and look at. And here's the actual setup of it a few years ago while we were running field day. So what do you need to bring out for field day? Well, bring a chair, something comfy that fits your butt, and whatever flavor of bug spray you like, and sunscreen, all that good stuff. probably going to be mosquitoes, and it's going to be hot because it's the end of June in South Texas, and we may get rain, so possibly bring some rain gear. And we're going to have water on site, some bottled water, but if you prefer other beverages, bring those along with you. And I believe we're going to have a meal Saturday at lunchtime. I don't think in the evening. I'm not sure. I have to double check with the team on that, but bring some snacks. You don't want to go hungry, but there is going to be food. We don't want anybody going hungry. And bring whatever you want to play with. If you want to bring some gear out and play with it, bring it out, and we're more than happy to entertain anybody playing with gear as long as it's not interfering with any of the club operations. You're good to go. And headphones on the CW station there. You may want to bring headphones. I'm going to have my headphones, but I'm not going to let you borrow them because you don't want my ear juice in your ears, and I don't want yours in mine either. So bring your own headphones or microphones or whatever else. We've got ICOM gear that you can plug into. And remember, have fun, make plenty of contacts, learn something new, and improve your operating skills if you can. And be safe. Let's see. So to recap, June 27th, 28th, the field day setup starts at 8 a.m. on Saturday the 27th. And we'll start operating at 1 p.m. local time. Address is 605 South Street in Louise, 77455. There's going to be a sign-up sheet, op time sign-up sheet floating around later on and some emails. So watch your emails and newsletters from the tech team and the W5ITZ. They'll be sending out information as we get closer. And if you want to designate a time to operate, look for that sign-up sheet there and make sure you get your name on it. This has been W5CUY, Whiskey 5 Charlie, Uniform Yankee Chris in Louise, turning it back to net control.
Awesome, Chris. This is K5LK on the W5LCR repeater system with the Crossroads Ham Radio Club's TechNet number 31. We'd like to give a big shout out, as they say, to Chris W5 for a great presentation once again on field day. At this time, we're going to open the net for any questions or comments specific to Chris's presentation. We'll take a few call signs at a time and then call on each of you for your questions or comments. Anyone with questions or comments regarding Chris's presentation, please give your call sign followed by your name slowly and phonetically. This is K5LK.
Whiskey 5 India Tango Zulu.
Bravo 5 Papa Bravo Mike.
KA9IKK.
All right, we'll stop it right there for those three. W5ITZ, KB5PBM, and KA9IKK. Mr. Bill ITZ, good evening. Your turn.
Good evening, Mr. Bill, and everyone out there on the TechNet tonight. My question is for Chris. Chris, great presentation. Thanks for doing that, and thanks for always coordinating an awesome field day. Looking forward to another one. My question is, you mentioned bring headsets. Do we have headset adapters for both stations?
That's a good question, Bill. Not that I'm aware of. The 7300s have a small jack there for headphones on the front, and there's the 8-pin, round adapter in the front there for microphone, foot switch, all that stuff integration. So if you've got a headset that's capable of plugging into the 7300 there, bring that. But the headphones, if you're just wanting to use headphones there on the CW station or the phone station even, I think I've got a couple of Y adapters that you can plug in and, plug in like two headphones. But as far as like pre-made adapters that'll adapt to a bunch of different headsets and stuff, that's not something that we have. Although I have been looking into some equipment from a ham that has some equipment designed for that, the OHIS. I don't know if anybody's heard about that. That's a pretty cool thing anyway. Sidetrack, but to answer your question, no, there's no official adapters, but other than what's capable out of the box with the 7300.
Okay, thanks, Chris. I may see if I can scout up a 7300 adapter. I don't have one, but I may see if I can come up with one for field day and run the full headset experience. Thanks again. W5ITZ, back to net control.
Thank you, Bill. This is K5LK, net control for TechNet number 31 on the Crossroads Ham Radio Club repeater system. Over to Mr. Robert, KB5PBM. Howdy.
Good evening, everyone on the net. And Chris, thanks for doing the presentation. And doing field day, you always knock it out of the park every year, so we always have a good time. I just want to add in there that non-hams are welcome. If you're not a ham, show up. Get you on the air. There'll be somebody to sit there with you to operate the radio. You'll be using the club call sign. So this kind of gets you introduced into HF operation, and you could be a temporary ham for a couple hours at least. Anyway, I just want to throw that in there. KB5 PBM.
Thank you, Robert, for the comments. Absolutely. It's open to the public, and we encourage that. So if you've got some friends and family interested in ham radio, bring them on down or send them directions, and we'll have a welcome team to get them on the go-to station. Also, for technicians, maybe you're not getting on HF very much. This would be a great time to operate HF as well. Okay, let's go over to Mr. Another Bill, K9IKK. Your turn.
Thank you, Bill number 9, and this is Bill 4.5, I think is where we landed the number there. And good evening to all. A great presentation. I've been following along here with the slides. And every time I hear the word radiograms and traffic handling, of course, my ears get perked up and I start barking. For those of you who may not know, I am the net manager for the Houston Local Traffic Net and also the assistant traffic manager for the South Texas section. So very involved with all the radiograms and want to make sure all the clubs do take advantage of the bonus points. It was really great to see you guys have that on the schedule. It's one of the most overlooked bonus points, and it's really one of the easiest ones to earn because you can actually use the repeater for the transmission of the bonus points. The rules normally say you can't use repeaters, but that is for QSO contacts. For the radiograms, you are allowed to use the repeaters. So that's an easy way. You could just have an HT and get into the one of the Crossroads repeaters and pass radiograms. Let me let it drop for a second. And radiograms are not something that you just do with the club. You're welcome to help them do that. But anybody participating in field day, radiograms available to any of the classifications. At the beginning of the presentation, we talked about the different classes. There's A through F. And if you're operating at home by yourself this year and you want to get some extra points, consider sending some radiograms. You can use your even your HT, get into one of the Crossroads repeaters, and send a radiogram to somebody over the repeater. We had somebody do that several years ago. I think it was during COVID, and they canceled all the field days. But this person got on the repeater, sent a bunch of radiograms, and still got 200 bonus points for field day without even going out to a field day site. So pretty cool. And I'll be available to help people to do that. There's also some good training going on this month. We have a virtual training net on radiograms via Zoom call. Those will be Wednesday at 6 p.m. And if you need more details on that, let me know. We should have information on the Houston Traffic Net website, hltn.org. Hotel Lima Tango November.org. But if you have trouble with finding links and so forth, give me a shout and we'll make sure you get the information. And again, above all, have fun with field day. It's really a blast. And with that, back to net. This is KA9IKK.
Thank you, Bill. This is K5LK, Net Control for TechNet 31 on the Crossroads repeater system. Thank you, Bill, and for all you do on radio traffic and all of that. That's really great, and we look forward to working with you again on field day, which is 3 weeks from this coming Saturday on the 27th in Louise, Texas, the mill. Chris, we had a comment in the meeting chat earlier from Gary N5GBR. He's not going to be able to attend field day due to his mother-in-law's 95th birthday. They're having a big party, but he's going to be working some HF that evening. He'll be a 1 Delta. I don't know the answer to this question. Maybe you do. We'll find it out. Can he give credit for those contacts to Crossroads? Over to you, Chris, K5LK.
Yeah, good question, Gary. You can, when you submit your log at the end of field day, it'll ask you for your club affiliation in that submittal document there on the ARRL's web submittal portal, and you can select Crossroads. I don't know how they have it listed in there now that we're in a ARRL affiliated club, so I haven't looked into that, but there is a drop down in there to put your affiliated club, and that way we can get credit for those points as well as you get credit for those points for those QSOs that you make as well to just be added to our score at the end.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And I'm also going to try to catch up with Bill 4.5, or at least look up online about radiograms. That seems like a neat way for me to get some points for the club. Anyway, I'll be up most of the night, or try to be, back to the net in 5GBR.
All right, let's take another round of questions or comments for Chris and the Crossroads Field Day 2026 presentation. If you'd like to provide a comment or ask a question to Chris regarding the presentation, please give your call sign followed by your name slowly and phonetically.
Whiskey 5, Bravo, Charlie, Bill.
W5BC, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Another Bill on Bill. Yeah. For Chris, is one little thing I've found in field day that works well is if you get people that are not familiar with being able to handle a whole bunch of people calling them at one time, because if you sit on a frequency and call CQ, you're going to be answering a whole bunch of people at one time, and that's just because of field day. Quote the contest, unquote. But the search and pounce works better for them. But what we do is if they're not really good at getting them, like even on search and pounce, we use a separate set of headphones and a guy to log on the computer to help them get the call signs down. And that way, because if they're not experienced at all like this, trying to get the call sign, get it in the computer correct, and then give them back the information, it's not that simple for beginners. So we always use a separate set of headphones for a logger with the operators. Makes it a lot faster unless they're really good at it. So that's an idea, and I hope you all have a good field day. But if you guys got a lot of people, I'm just wondering why you're just going to go to W5BC in Lumberton, Texas. Over.
Yeah, W5BC, good question. So what we've done before is always having loggers there on site. We normally have two people sitting there at the computer at the radio, one at the computer and one at the radio. So we let one log and one be on the radio there. So that kind of helps. Sometimes the logger is not very proficient, sometimes the operator is not very proficient. But yeah, that's how they manage to do that in the past. So we do that as well. And like I said, we do flip-flop back and forth from search and pounce.
Any other questions or comments for the
But
presentation?
great
Please
point
come
there.
now. This
Thanks
is
for that.
K5LK.
W5CUY back to net.
Bill, you got covered up by Chris, but I got Chris. I got your information all okay. Thanks, guys, and 7-3.
Started at the same time, and it sounded like both of you had good info. Maybe, Chris, you're going to have to say yours again in 5GBR.
My apologies, Chris. I'm not running duplex here. Summarize what you said, and I will too. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Sound like we doubled, and then there was a double telling us we doubled, so double, 4 times there. But yeah, the guy there in Lumberton, yeah, we normally do that. We've got, because we found that sometimes the logger's not proficient as well too. So we normally have 2 people. We have run one single person. If they're comfortable with everything, it's fine. They can sit down and use N1MM at the radio there with a headset on Vox and just knock them out. But like I said, sometimes the logger's not proficient and the operator will help the logger out and vice versa. So yeah, we do it that way as well. And you know, as far as having more than 2A, you got more radios, more logs, more all the other stuff, people flip-flopping bands and all that. And then there's maybe 30 minutes there where you'll have 6 radios completely busy, and then the rest of the time they're all sitting idle except for one. So we try to kind of maximize what we can kind of handle with the site and the logistics and everything. Not saying that we'll never grow to more than 2A, but that's what's been comfortable before, and that's what seemed to work. So 2A with the GOTA station has worked for us pretty good, but we're open to expanding that with better logistics there. The tech team is really taking a big step in field day, so I see that coming in the near future. We'll turn it back to you, Bill. W5CUY.
Thanks, Chris. And I just wanted to add, sorry about the double. Yeah, last year on Sunday morning, 15 meters, Scott, KC5RXW, and yours truly, K5LK, we ran a nice pilot over the East Coast, and that was a hoot. I had done that in years. That was a lot of fun, and both having headphones, we were getting after it. That was cool. All right, let's get one more round of questions or comments, and then we'll kind of get ready to close the net here. Anybody else have any comments or questions for Chris, W5CUY, and Crossroads Field Day 2026? Come now with your call signs and name phonetically. Okay, nothing heard. Do we have anybody that has any questions about ham radio technical part of ham radio, please come now. Okay, we'll try to improve on that going forward, see if we can get maybe some more general amateur radio technical questions or topics. We'll see how it goes. Okay, now we're going to wrap up tonight's TechNet RF session. Remember, we will stay on Zoom for a RAG2 session after the net. Well, nothing heard. This is K5LK Net Control for tonight's TechNet number 31. Give a big thanks to all the tech team members who helped making tonight's net a success. If you have any questions regarding the TechNet or would like to possibly join our tech team or provide some information for topics, you can send an email to info@crhrc.org. That's info@crhrc.org. Again, please note that many of us will remain in the Zoom sessions for a general RAG2. Can't talk there. We'll now close the RF session of the Crossroads Ham Radio Club's monthly TechNet. This is K5LK.
You have been listening to a TechNet presentation of the Crossroads Ham Radio Club. For more information on this club, go to www.crhrc.org. For information on upcoming TechNets, go to technet.crhrc.org.